Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name's John Ing, and I have the privilege of being friends of the family and having been a friend of Pat and Don, and it is indeed a privilege to be here today with all of you and an honor. This is an afternoon celebrating a remarkable soul, and it will be filled with the things that she loved, including all of you, music, and remembrances. So without further ado, we will begin with some music. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Logan Hastings, Stephen Hessla, Luis Milan, and Fern Glass presented that last lovely piece. And those, by the way, all poems written by children and very much a Pat Simmons thing. We now have a video montage to remember Pat. We will have some furniture arrangement, followed by a screen coming down, followed by a video montage.
say to the fishes, man, fishes be wet and the sky be blue. So you be you. Maybe I don't know why. All I know is that I feel like I'm flying when I do. So you be you.
few minutes earlier, Elizabeth and I were having a conversation out in the lobby, and she made it, well, it's quite succinct, the story of Pat. She fell in love with Don, she fell in love with Missoula, and her entire life was a love story. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be with all of you today, remembering, honoring, celebrating the enormous spirit contained in the tiny package that was Patricia Kimball Simmons, a woman we loved in no small part because she made it abundantly clear that she loved us. I cannot remember a time when I did not know Pat Simmons, though there was certainly a time when I didn't. But Pat and Don were there from the moment I began to realize what's important in this life. Caring for one another, standing up for good, laughing and loving, making a difference, sharing time and talent and selflessness. Suddenly, every time I was in a room where something good was at play, there were Pat and Don. They should have trademarked their own seal of approval because it was coveted by many, and we wanted to be in the room with them, showing up for the stuff that mattered to them, and much mattered to Pat. Her family mattered. She adored the blue-eyed man she married 63 years ago, and they were inseparable members of a lovely mutual admiration society. She adored her children and grandchildren and never wanted for a humble, heartfelt report on what the kids were doing for the world. Her friends mattered, and she had a lot of them, as is evidenced by the crowd in this room today. Some old, some middling, and plenty of them young. It's easy to forget what it's like to be 20 when your 20s happened 50 or 60 years ago, but Pat never forgot and therefore was able to relate. She offered wisdom without arrogance or judgment, and she was genuinely interested in the lives of her young friends. Her politics mattered. Pat understood what so many never will about politics, that the word isn't dirty because it's all about people, and people are generally good, and if good people get elected, politics can lift us all up. If you didn't know Pat Simmons, you'd think she was a compulsive photo bomber. Because there is not a local, state, or federal politician who hasn't shared a picture frame with Pat Simmons. And it's not because Pat was desperate for attention, it's because she was a magnet for decent human beings, and those decent human beings wanted her support. We're back to that seal approval, the Simmons bump, as we call it. Her country mattered. She believed in a United States that was really about justice for all. She and Don stood dressed in black with a few others week after week, quietly calling her country to justice, demanding peace, requiring us to think about what in the hell we were doing, sending young men and women to kill and be killed. And she did so at first only to be scorned, and perhaps worse, ignored. Time is a great vindicator, but leaders don't act to be vindicated. They act to make a difference. And Pat Simmons was a leader. Her naps mattered. Pat's friends knew when her number should not be dialed. Her door should not be knocked upon, and her slumber should not be disturbed. And that sentence ends with a period. Kids mattered. What they said, thought, wrote, painted, sang, played, learned, ate, drank, everything having to do with children having a shot at a quality existence was important to Pat, which is why she volunteered to help them in any way she could, was an enthusiastic audience member, coach, mentor, parent, grandparent, and friend. Art mattered. Any medium, any endeavor, art made us rich and whole, she believed, and she was right. Lunch mattered. Pat invented out to lunch. So remember, the next time you're eating some form of food on a stick that's slightly overpriced, on a spectacular Wednesday afternoon in Caris Park in Missoula, Montana, that was all Pat. Community mattered. You name the organization that makes a difference in Missoula and you'll find Pat's fingerprints somewhere. We are all in this together, and she knew and lived it and made our world a better place. Everyone mattered. Pat Simmons offered you the gift of her full attention when she saw you, and that is rare and remarkable. I am a Norwegian American, and we are not an affectionate people. Our personal space is roughly a 15-foot perimeter. But the gift and receipt of affection were not optional in Pat Simmons' world. And in the same way she gave you her full attention, she commanded yours through that hand. That hand, delicate but firm, combined with a slight tilt of her head and a sweet smile, was raised to your cheek. And despite a feather-light touch, you were now absolutely in her control. She would reach that hand up, and she would gently guide my face closer to hers. And at the end of that 3-foot journey, there was a kiss on the cheek before she allowed me to almost straighten up again, that hand still cupping the side of my face and our eyes locked and her voice steady and quiet. And there you were, completely engaged with Pat Simmons. Locked in position as she told you something that was always wonderful to hear, something wonderful about you, something wonderful about her family, something wonderful about the community, something wonderful, always, always something wonderful. The spell was only partly broken when her fingers left your face. You and your friend Pat had talked and had shared a second of her sincere appreciation of the fact that we're alive and together, and it all has meaning. And you carried that feeling with you and were buoyed by her belief in all of us. In that moment, with Pat's hand bringing urgency to your conversation, you knew that you mattered to Pat, and at that moment, that was all that mattered. Patricia Kimball Simmons is gone from this earth in a way that is at once profound and superficial. Her absence is profound in that we'll not experience her touch and her voice and her smile again in person. Her absence is superficial in that she has filled this room, shaped our lives, informed our values, and taught each of us what it really means to live. Patricia Kimball Simmons built a life that mattered, And today, we celebrate that fact. Finally, peace mattered to Pat. In the same way we take comfort in the peace she now enjoys, I ask, as she would have, that you go in peace, love one another, and live in a way that matters. And now we will hear from the Chamber Chorale. as we do a little additional furniture arranging, a couple of notes following our celebration today. The Simmons family invites you all to join in a lunch reception that will be happening all around the hallways and in room 104 and 105 right after the celebration. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Out to Lunch happens every Wednesday in downtown Missoula. And on the 2nd of July, 2014, from 11 to 2, we will celebrate Pat Simmons Day at Out to Lunch. We'll be there in Karis Park. There will be a proclamation, which I will read as I am wont to do. And we will celebrate that part of Pat's life that was all about downtown Missoula. A pretty fantastic piece of business. Next, ladies and gentlemen, in an effort to ensure that there is some component of this that's like a revival meeting, we're going to have a community sing. For legal reasons, I am not allowed to participate. But the rest of you certainly are. And the song, which is the lyrics to which are in your program, is Down by the Riverside. Stephen Hessler will accompany you all on piano. I feel bad that this relatively small young man has to push the piano around. Maybe a little to the left. I can't get on top when that's like that. Ladies and gentlemen, at the piano, Stephen Hessler.
The pitch might go up between verses, just listen for it.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Simmons family, thank you all for being here today and sharing your love of Pat with one another, with the family, and thank you again. I hope the day treats you nothing but kindly, because that's exactly the way Pat would have it. We love you, girl, and we miss you. Take care, folks.